Today, I'm going to share with you what I ate in a day to lose my first 10 pounds in a month, and then I'm going to tell you how that's changed over the last year and a half as I've lost an additional 20 pounds for a total of 30 pounds. Hey everyone, it's Suzanne, and I've lost 30 pounds over the last year and a half, over 50 years old. And today I wanted to share with you the foods that I ate while I was losing my first 10 pounds and then how that's changed over time. So there are a couple of rules that I've maintained over this entire time. And that is, first of all, I've always tried to eat pretty consistently, meaning pretty much the same meals from day to day unless I was going to have a special occasion or I was going to have a treat meal. So for instance, when I lost my first 10 pounds, for breakfast, I would start out with a little bit of a tomato, like a slice of tomato. I would melt cheese on it, and then I would also have that with a hard boiled egg. So back then, I was really putting an emphasis on making sure that I was getting a vegetable at the beginning of every meal. Over time, I have started taking some of the vegetables away. However, I kind of do it intermittently. If I feel like I need to start adding some back in, maybe I feel like I'm plateauing a little bit, I wonder if adding a vegetable in will help me to maybe somehow fill me up so I won't need to eat as much. But I've just kind of gone back and forth with the vegetable thing. And I've also included vegetables sometimes, like if I was having constipation and I would be trying to alleviate that. But for the most part now, I don't eat a lot of vegetables at breakfast anymore. I will usually start out right away with one scrambled egg. I'll add in a sausage patty. It's Jimmy Dean sausage patties. I love those. And then I'll add about a 1/4 cup of cheese on top of that, melt it in the microwave. And that's pretty much my go-to meal for breakfast now. It's only around 300 calories, but it always fills me up and it does last me through the morning. If I wait until I'm hungry again, I can go a good 3-4 hours before I will start to get hungry again. Now, one of the reasons I gave up the tomato and the cheese and the hard-boiled egg is because as I've gone through this journey, I've really tried to focus more of my meals on foods that I know I really, really enjoy. And so I tend to like a little bit higher of a fat percentage ratio. So I eat about 75% of my calories from fat and about 20% from protein and maybe 5% for carbs. So if you've been watching me, you know that I follow keto and I try to keep my total carbs for the day under 20 grams. So I start at less than 20 grams of carbs. I will add a little bit of protein in, and then I will finish up my meal with a lot of fat that I love. Now, the second meal that I ate when I was losing that first 10 pounds was kind of similar to my first meal now, but it had a few more calories in it. So my second meal would be a scrambled egg. I would add in some egg whites to add a little bit more protein. I would have some mushrooms in that because remember at the time I was adding in a little bit more vegetable. I kept the sausage patty and I added in that cheese. And then I would also have a guacamole packet. It's called Holy Guacamole, but it was a great additional source of fiber and it was very tasty with my omelet. And so that was my second meal for the day. Now, as I have been losing weight, I've been shaving off the amount of calories that I have in each of my meals. So I no longer have the guacamole because that was an extra 60 to 120 calories. I don't have the mushrooms anymore because I don't really eat as many vegetables. And I stopped doing the egg whites because I realized when I start eating more protein, it actually makes me feel a little hungrier. And I didn't like that because it was pushing me out of my calorie target. So I just opted to stay with one whole egg scrambled with the sausage and the cheese, and that filled me up. I feel very satisfied when I eat that. But over the last year and a half, I've had to make these changes where I've had to rein in some of the calories and eliminate some of the foods that I used to eat when I first started. When I first started this journey, I was 175 pounds and now I'm 145 pounds. So as I'm losing weight, I do have to shave back the calories a little bit more each time. However, it's been pretty easy to do because on keto, I find that I'm very satisfied with the amount of food that I'm eating, and I'm able to eat fewer calories without being really hungry and feeling like I need to eat more. So my third meal that I would eat when I was trying to lose my first 10 pounds was, I didn't really have a structured meal at that time. I would just kind of eat whatever the family ate. In the beginning, I just wanted to be able to still eat some of the meals that my family was eating. They weren't on keto. And so if we had pizza or if we had burgers or if we went out to eat, I would just simply modify the foods that we ate. So if we had pizza at home, I would just eat mostly the toppings. Sometimes I'd eat a little bit of the crust still. So I wasn't super restrictive with the carbs at the last meal, but I would make sure that I always had a vegetable with it at the beginning, like a salad. If we went to Chick-fil-A or if we went to McDonald's, then I would just simply take off the bun and eat the burger with the vegetables and the condiments. And so I would just modify my foods, but I would still be eating the same foods that my family was eating. Now, over the past year and a half, I've actually been able to influence my family to start moving over to a more low-carb diet because they've seen all the weight that I've lost, and it convinced them that maybe they could follow it and lose a little bit of weight too. So my husband has lost between 20 and 25 pounds over the last year following this plan with me. My 18-year-old son started doing it, and he actually dropped a little bit of weight, but nothing unhealthy. This keto plan is very healthy because it's all good food. We don't restrict ourselves. We don't starve ourselves or try to go on these super low-calorie diets. We just try to lose weight naturally by eliminating the sugars and the processed foods and the higher carb foods. So now my dinners have changed slightly since my family has changed. Our family dinners actually don't look at all like they used to, where we would cook up a big batch of food and then we would share it. Now we actually kind of cook separate individual meals, but three of us are almost all adults. We do have a daughter that's under 18, but she is an older teenager, so we've all just kind of started cooking our own meals. I'll help cook my husband's meals sometimes because I hate cooking a little less than he does, so I'll help cook his eggs for dinner. But at this point, we're actually kind of eating our own main meals of choice. And for me, my meal typically during the week is a fried egg. I'll have another sausage patty. And then I have a Lily's peanut butter cup for dessert. If I'm a little bit hungrier, I might have 2 sausage patties with my dinner. But for the most part, that is pretty much my dinner every night during the week. Which means that all of my meals are pretty much the same from day to day during the week. Now, I might have 1 or 2 snacks during the day if I get a little hungry in between meals. When I lost my first 10 pounds, one of my go-to snacks was nuts. I really loved the nuts. I would eat walnuts, cashews, and then it got to the point where all I was eating was cashews because I just really enjoyed them. I got them at Walmart, and they're the great value salted pecans. But as time has gone by and I've lost weight and I've had to cut calories, I've noticed that I've had to reduce the amount of nuts that I eat, and I had to switch it out with a different snack. So now what I typically eat instead of nuts is I will eat pork rinds. So pork rinds are lower in calories. They're about at least half the calories. And for some reason with nuts, they were a snack food that I could just eat and end up eating too much of them. So with pork rinds, that doesn't usually happen. If I have a serving of pork rinds, I'm usually pretty satisfied with just a small serving, and it's only about 70 calories. I feel pretty full, and it gets me through to my next meal. Now, another snack that I had back then that I have kept till now is I do drink a few skinny mochas. That's what I call them, skinny mochas. They're like a skinny coffee. Sometimes it's more like a skinny hot chocolate if I don't have coffee in it, but I'll have like 3 or 4 of those in a day. I used to make them with 3 packets of Sweet and Low, a little bit of instant coffee. I would add in some creamer, which is 0 sugar coffee mate creamer, whatever flavor I like. Right now it's chocolate caramel. During the holidays, they have some fun flavors like pumpkin spice and peppermint mocha, and I will change it up during the holidays. And I would add just a teaspoon of hot chocolate powder, which ended up being around 15 calories, I think, a piece for the teaspoon of hot chocolate. So still was pretty low calorie, pretty low carb, but now I've actually changed up the hot chocolate just a little bit. I started buying cocoa powder, And the cocoa powder is a little bit lower calorie than even the hot chocolate. It's only like 5 calories per teaspoon of cocoa. So I will have that, especially by my second cup up to my like fourth cup, I'll just use cocoa. The first cup, I might use some hot chocolate in the morning. And then I like to put a little bit of whipped cream on the top of that, which is very low carb as well. And it makes a great drink. I just sip on those throughout the day, as well as the water that I drink. I try to drink 2 big jugs of water during the day. I'm not always great at it. I do tend to drink more of the skinny mochas than the water, but I'm working on it. And of course, you do have to have some kind of dessert. So back when I lost my 10 pounds, I was eating things like Hershey's Kisses dark chocolate. I was eating a couple pieces of Lily's chocolate from the chocolate bars. And then I was having a peanut butter cup with my dinner as dessert. I have changed some of that now. I completely went away from the Hershey Kisses. Those were a little bit too bingeable for me, so I did have to drop those at a certain point. I found myself walking back to the cupboard a little too often to grab those, and so I just had to get rid of those. I also eventually had to start dropping the Lily's chocolate bar because, again, I would go back to the cupboard and kind of grab them if I would feel a little stressed or just felt like I wanted something sweet. So now all I'm really eating for a treat during the day is I have my peanut butter cup at night with my dinner still, and I might have a couple of squirts of whipped cream with a little bit of cocoa powder mixed in with it. It's almost like a chocolate cream pie, and it's pretty low carb and pretty low calorie compared to the Hershey Kisses and the Lily's chocolate. So that's pretty much what I eat during the week. I will do another video where I tell you what I eat on the weekends and maybe some different fast food options that I have that I stick to whenever I feel like I need a little bit more variety. I usually will only do that at dinner time, but I will tell you all about that in the next video. I'll probably put it up here on the end screen once that video is ready. Otherwise, you can check out my other video on the screen here about how I lost 30 pounds, and hopefully it's helpful to you. Let me know where you are in your weight loss journey down in the comments. I'd really love to hear it and connect with you. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.